The India Today Cicero poll indicated that the AAP will get between 38 and 46. That was the biggest, that was the poll that indicated the biggest majority. Then you had the India TV poll, which indicated that AAP would get 35 seats. That's much less than the 38 to 46, which the India Today Cicero poll indicated. And then there's today's Chanakya, which gave AAP 48 seats. That's, of course, projected seats. Sunil, now can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Thank you.
All right. Hi, good morning again. What do you make of the polls? Is this just a Delhi factor, or will this be seen as the end of the honeymoon of the government in Delhi?
No, I think, I mean, it would be very, firstly, we are assuming that the AAP is going to win, but let's go with that assumption since that's what all the polls are saying. You know, I think it is a Delhi factor. It would be very premature to say that, you know, that Modi's sort of honeymoon is over. But what it does do, it injects a note of realism into the whole BJP government. You know, there's this whole, right now the government sort of felt that, you know, it was just conquering state after state. There was going to be no opposition. We saw some level of, you know, a reality check has been given by what's happening in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, for example, the Rajya Sabha in particular. So I think, you know, the Delhi election is one more reality check. What it tells the government is, and I think this is the frightening part about Indian politics, is that, you know, I would think that a large part of the Aam Aadmi Party's appeal lies in some of the, you know, populist talk about electricity subsidies, water subsidies and things like that. So I think it's a complicated thing because Arvind Kejriwal will have to deliver on his promises. But for, you know, for a Modi, what it means is that you can't afford to talk about, you can't think that just talk of growth is going to get you by. You know, there has to be a deeper connect with people, which is very important, which the polls seem to suggest was missing. We have to see tomorrow whether that's true or not. But that is really the reality today.
Sunil, hi, good morning. So what's the sense you're getting about whether these poll results will impact the Modi government's policy making? Because the BJP has said repeatedly in the past that this is not a referendum to, you know, the Modi government's performance. But what would your own analysis be?
Well, I don't think, as I said, I was just telling Lata, I don't think it's a referendum at all. But, you know, what it is going to be a test of now is if you assume that Arvind Kejriwal becomes the Chief Minister of Delhi, the question is how does the Modi government deal with him? And also equally important, how does Arvind Kejriwal deal with the Modi government? You know, I can see a flash of, I mean, you know, a face-off taking place in the Delhi police, for example. You know, that was this big face-off the last time. So, you know, the question is, does the Delhi government, you know, sort of keep taunting the police, and then does the central government back the police, or does it get the police to, you know, fall in line? What happens there? I think the power sector is the most interesting thing, even from a stock market point of view. That's what will determine, you know, what happens to Tata stocks or, you know, Tata Power or Reliance Infra. Now, you know, the thing is that we've got about roughly 13,000 crores of regulatory assets, another 10,000 crores on their way. So you've got about 20,000 crore rupees or more of dues that need to be paid to these power companies. These are dues which cannot be paid by Delhi citizens. The power rates will go up too much. So I think the central government and the Delhi government will have to sit down together, find a formulation on this. One part could be possibly using APDRP funds to, you know, to pay off some of this. I think, you know, the Aam Aadmi parties, if you look at their white paper, it was quite responsible. But one of the things that comes out, one of the things that we've been recommending for a long time at the Financial Express is that try and redo these PPAs that the DISCOMs have in Delhi. Try and give the Delhi government a captive coal mine, you know, in a close-by area, so we can get cheaper power. Delhi has by far the highest bulk tariff rates in the country. I think we're about $1.50 more than anybody else in most states. So these are solutions that the state and the center need to figure out and work, you know, together. So it would be very unfortunate, especially since Mr. Modi has been talking about cooperative federalism, if there was a face-off.
No, Sunil, yeah, that's a different point. I think Maharashtra's tariffs, especially Bombay tariffs, are much higher actually. But that's a different issue. What I'm wondering is the AAPs, well, you said that their white paper was responsible, but it still speaks a lot about, you know, water and power tariffs, which are way below, you know, what is perhaps affordable by these entities. the important point is, do you think it will have a kind of an influence on the Modi government's policies? If they perceive that this kind of populist policies is winning votes, do you see them changing their rhetoric or changing their policies?
You never know. The last time that the AAP, started talking about this, we found 2 state governments. I think Maharashtra was one of them.
Yes.
Following suit in terms of, in terms of promising cheaper power to people who consume less than a certain amount. I think the good thing here is that the next poll is many, many months away. So hopefully, by then the Aam Aadmi Party will also have got a sense of realism. When I said that the Aam Aadmi Party's manifesto was a lot more realistic, I meant it in relative terms. So, there's still the talk of the audit of the discoms and things like that. But I'm saying that, if you look at some of the way the AAP talked about in the past, for example, when they fought the election the last time, they talked about a 50% tariff cut straight away. So you didn't find that kind of noise this time. So I think it's more realistic in the, for example, the AAP has never ever talked about the bulk supply tariffs, which is basically the tariffs which the Delhi discoms have to pay to government-owned organizations like NTPC and NHPC. This is the first time I've seen a political party like the AAP being realistic. That's what I meant. But you're right. I think there's a danger there that if you see the Aam Aadmi Party winning because of its populism, then there is obviously a rub-off effect. We have to hope that, since the next election is many months away, in Bihar, I think
there's
it's
Bihar.
Away.
Yeah,
you've got to hope that.
I was going to ask you that. Does it give the opposition parties a feeling that Modi is not as invincible as he was in May of 2014? So do you think it will cast any impact at all on the other big state election this year?
Well, Lata, as I said, the elections are very far away. The only immediate impact has to be in terms of the Rajya Sabha. In terms of, do you find, we had a Niti Aayog meeting yesterday, so you find that the government is trying to build bridges with various state governments. They're talking about, cooperative federalism. They're talking about, having less tied aid. And so, so I think the immediate impact is going to be that our governments, are the other states, for example, are the political parties going to feel that Modi is, they can be easily written off after Delhi. I think, frankly, that's a bit of a stretch. The Delhi election is no doubt a setback. You can look at it as a big setback or a small setback, depending on how you want to look at it. But considering that the BJP did so well in the Lok Sabha seats just some months ago, it is a big setback in that sense. But I think, Modi's maturity and the government's maturity will lie in being able to take their agenda forward. As to whether they will change, I don't know. I should just hope not, that's all.
Just one more question to you, Sunil, before we let you go. Do you think, we will once again have this anti-corruption tirade coming up? We have seen a bit of that dying down after the elections, or a goodish bit dying out. Do you think with the AAP coming back to power, once again investigations, opening Commonwealth Games, opening up, a whole host of past decisions, and therefore generally putting Indian industry on the back foot will once again be the culture?
Well, that's one thing that I'm reasonably certain will not happen.
Okay.
Because, we had Arvind Kejriwal at the Express's, the Express Adda some months back in Bombay. And one of the questions that, was posed to him in the audience and even later on was that, given the fact that the Congress party is no longer in power, does it really make sense for you to be talking about corruption all the time? After all, Modi is talking about jobs and things like that. And surely, jobs are more important for people. So, one of the points that Arvind Kejriwal made was, he said that, clearly the press is not following the AAP well. And if you look at what they call the Delhi dialogue, which is basically, all these, roadside meetings and the small meetings that the AAP has been holding over the past several months. He said the whole framework now of the AAP has been how to better the education system, how to get jobs. The AAP, for example, talking about free Wi-Fi in Delhi. Now, would you have ever thought some months ago that a party which was talking about free electricity would be talking about Wi-Fi? So I think that there is, a certain maturing of the AAP. And as I said, a lot depends on how far the central government cooperates with the AAP, if the AAP comes to power. But I think, the sort of, CWG, Adarsh and that kind of thing seems to have died down. What also helps is that, with inflation coming down, people are not that focused on corruption. There is, you feel a bit, you feel angry, when you see prices going up and you see people making a lot of money. So, with prices coming down, I think there's been a general cooling off of temperature. I would be very surprised if the AAP went back on that path.
All right, Sunil, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for joining us and putting all of that into perspective. We'll get to know, of course, tomorrow.